It's Valentine's Day, it's Ash Wednesday, and it's even the most exciting part of the session for us. We at least got to the midpoint. This
Absolutely.
is crossover day. I'm standing here with former Delegate Bill Janis, who has joined our team this year to help us advance the principles of life and religious liberty and marriage. Although this year we've actually, by the nature of the type of policy that we've seen, we've actually nicknamed you the Bad Bill Assassin. Yeah. So I thought I'd just have Bill come out here and tell us a little bit about what you've been seeing this session.
Yeah, so it's been an interesting year. Elections have consequences. We're seeing that in every committee meeting and every subcommittee meeting. This is the closest the Democrats have come to getting a majority since 1997, long before I served here. And the elections have consequences. There's been a slew of bills, as you know, coming in that have tried to do all sorts of crazy things in the Code of Virginia, from allowing elective abortions right up to the point of birth, going through the Code of Virginia and redacting it to remove all gender-specific language with ridiculous consequences, talking about the pregnant person rather than the pregnant woman. There's bills here that would even come perilously close to defining advocacy in favor of traditional marriage as political terrorism or domestic terrorism in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So this pent-up demand on the part of the Democrat base, this pent-up demand on the left, the progressive base, is manifesting itself in just a tidal wave of really bad legislation that we've had to confront this year in the session.
And we've not just seen bad legislation, we've also seen the progressive left with an aggressive passion. Is that the best way to describe it? What are you seeing in committee, tone-wise?
The advocates and the for lack of a better phrase, rabble-rousers that have showed up at the Capitol to testify at committee hearings has changed dramatically the tone and character of the meetings. Disruptive shouting, when bills that they're in favor of fail to report, screaming at the legislators, threatening them with the upcoming elections, yelling out shame, singing "We Shall Overcome," and there's a very tolerant attitude on the part of the chairman of the First Amendment, but tolerating dissent and tolerating folks who want to speak their piece and have an opportunity to be heard is coming perilously close to the heckler's veto, where activists can come into a room, shout down the committee chairman, and disrupt the meeting and really threaten and intimidate the legislators.
I think it is a hard time to be a legislator standing strong on our issues because of the environment. Is there something you're seeing in terms of, like, we're seeing all these different terrible bills. Are you seeing any kind of consistent worldview or some things that are kind of surprising that people are saying about their beliefs?
I think the consistent theme in a lot of this legislation is an absolute indifference to, if not hostility to, religious liberty and the conscience rights of both employers, homeowners, and individual Virginians. I think it's summed up best. This is such a beauty, I had to write it down. After a series of bills that would have imposed really draconian restrictions on those who want to lease their homes or rent their homes, and would also have imposed all sorts of potential litigation on employers, Delegate Simon was quoted as saying, quote, "There are certain sincerely held religious beliefs which are so discriminatory that we don't give them the protection of the law, and this is one of those cases." I think the consistent theme here is not that you have two individuals, one of whom has a constitutional right and the other is infringing upon it. What you have is folks who are asserting a right or a putative right under the Code of Virginia based on their sexual orientation or their gender identity or their actual gender are unwilling to even acknowledge the notion that other individuals have religious liberty rights, well-established religious liberty rights and personal conscience rights, and they're quite prepared to do away with them by legislative fiat. And that's the consistent theme with a lot of this, and that's the scary part of this session this year.
I think there is a new tone towards people of faith, that their faith is not legitimately allowed in the public square in a variety of capacities, and we're seeing that in bills, we're hearing it in words. How do our folks, we're at the halfway point, how do our folks help good legislators stand strong on these issues, particularly to oppose some of the things that are, we still have gambling expansions left, we have people thinking about expanding Medicaid to the Medicare to the detriment of the state budget, and we even have some good things that are trying to move forward, like making sure our budget doesn't have funding going towards Planned Parenthood, or that we're not as taxpayers funding abortions for low-income women who are getting a diagnosis that maybe they think this unborn child has Down syndrome or something that they don't think is worthy of life. How do we help these legislators in this next half stand strong? What do our folks do?
Generally speaking, because of the way we elect our representatives, delegates and senators are going to be extremely responsive to their constituents who contact them, who care enough about an issue to take the time and effort to contact them. So, we always say it's the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. We used to say that in the Navy. Contacting your delegates, contacting your senators, either by email or by phone, coming to the Capitol on our advocacy days, making a trip if you're close enough to Richmond, making a day trip and going to see your legislators to tell them that they represent you, and share your view on this is always important. Go into our website, www.familyfoundation.org. There's all sorts of guidance that you can receive there on how you can become active in this debate, this public debate, and you can petition your representatives for redress of grievances as is provided for in the Constitution. So getting involved is the most important thing, because legislators will respond to the folks who sent them here to Richmond to represent them.
Absolutely. As Bill just said, we want folks to go to our website, sign up for our email alerts. We have a text-to-watch system where you can actually give us your text messaging phone number, and we can alert you to when the committee is hearing these bills. We also want folks praying for these legislators and being a part of our prayer effort with Team Timothy. Bill, thank you so much. Most of our terrible bills have actually died, much at the hands of our team, including Bill and some others. And so we're thrilled at where we are. He's done a great job as a bad bill assassin.
Yeah.
And so until our next update, thank you for taking time to learn about where we are and get engaged for the next half.